All of this feeds through and gives you all of your costs back onto a job. You then start to get to the situation of saying, well, what costs can I see on a job? And the ability to start seeing, there's my job, my actual costs for the job, charged, quoted, budgeted, invoiced, income in advance, committed, work in progress. Not explaining all of them, but you get a feeling it's very quick to get a really good detail of where your job's to, even for the sort of things that, the sort of things you can start to do is job P&Ls and make that a little bit smaller. Where you've got, what's the job, what revenue have I made, what's my actual budget variance, what's my actual budget variance for the year. I've just been using that Triumph there as an example of what's there, but at this level there, the sort of power you get. The key thing still comes back to work in progress, because work in progress is what drives it into the P&L and what controls those bouncing items. All right, we've had a look at a few things. Oh, get back where I wanted to. If I sort of carry on up to the next level, you're starting to then move up to what I'd call large or enterprise type systems. Actually, large systems like Dynamics, Great Plains, Green Tree, Sage, Jackpack. The power starts to go further. It's interesting to see things like SAP Business One. They actually use the same job costing add-on that goes with EXO, both of them as add-ins, which can be quite challenging. If I look at something like a SysPro, you're talking maybe $300,000 or $400,000 for it, but power in the job costing and manufacturing, it'll track every item. We have a client down in North Fremantle who's tracking it. They track every serialised item onto every piece of gear, and it's all scanned through the whole business. So it can be very powerful. But the actual logic of what they're doing, it's the detail of the tracking. The work in progress calculations are absolutely the same as you're doing at a low level, and some of the stuff I've just shown you. It's getting that theory in the business that people actually will track it and understand it. I know in our own office, I reckon I need to tell our accountant, we've told our staff 4 or 5 times how to do it, because job costing is not one of those areas they teach you at university. There's a lot of practicality of it. If we keep having a look at some of the bigger systems, Microsoft Dynamics, Oracle, all of these things can do it. You actually just start to add to the complexity of what it is and how it is, and you start to have more people involved in the process. It is, but I'm just doing a JD Edwards one at the moment, and you can see the costing processes there are quite detailed in their processes, and it isn't a simple step. It is, you start to get a lot more disciplines in the business. How do you do it? Why do you do it? All right, where do you go from your guys? And to give you a summary, oh, it's off again. How do you do it? You really want to stop and have a look at your system and just review where you're up to. Are you ready for job costing? Is your culture ready? And it might seem a funny thing to say, is your culture ready? Lots of people will come to us and say, my costing system's stuffed, I need to do something properly. The challenge is balancing up, putting in a really tight system with the mechanics of the business, because it's really good and easy to put in a system, but sometimes you've got to actually stop and go, is the organisation ready? Are we putting in a process that's too hard? Are we putting in a process to manage something that should be written off? Classic example, I did some work for Bank West at one stage in their cheque processing department, where they were doing, and this is a few years ago now, where they were reviewing cheques. A few years later now, they don't even look at cheques and things. If it's under $10,000, I'll give you your money back, it's cheaper. And we've all got to start looking at that in our businesses. How far do we take the auditing and the processing before it becomes uneconomical? We see it with PCs. People bring them into the office to get fixed, and you've got to go, hang on, if we spend 2 hours on this, will it not be cheaper to just get you a new one because the costs have come down? And they're the really hard decisions to make, and that's why I sort of talk about the processes and that people just starting to rethink some of their cultures. But that said, if you've got a profit and loss at the moment that the boss looks at and the figures are useless, right, because they're up and down, you've really got to stop and think, I need to get proper costing, proper structures, because otherwise the business, the guys I was talking to yesterday who are putting in car parking systems, like automated car parking systems, you drive in and it'll actually put your car away with a lift. They've actually just going through a process. The business has boomed to start with, they're making great money. As it's got bigger, they've got more infrastructure, and they're suddenly going, we're not making any money. And we've had to start teaching them how to go and review jobs. And what we've actually started to find out is their staff productivity is down and their actual costing of their staff is wrong. They've said our guys cost us $80 an hour. We've actually worked out their staff are costing them $100 an hour by the time they bring in all of their components. And they wondered where it went, but it literally is workers' comp, sick leave, admin. They've now put on foremen to actually manage people. They put on dedicated scheduling people, but those guys have all got to be paid for out of the workers. And they're the things that suddenly send job costing businesses broke, that people don't get that. Okay, questions?